All right, this video is going to be about learning from mistakes. Now, we could learn from our own mistakes and we can learn from others, and they can learn from our mistakes as well. So, one of the things that it's been weighing heavy on me is because it's been happening enough that it has become a concern because I haven't done more in this area. One is if someone's been put on your heart, your spirit, to talk to them about the Word, God, the Lord, then I want to encourage you to do so while you can. Because tomorrow's not promised. Neither is 5 seconds from now. It could even happen while I'm talking to you on this video. God could take me. It could be my day and time, hour, minute, second. There's been several instances in my life where I have failed to do what I know I should have. Uh, One of them is my buddy Fred and his wife. Now, I talked to him. I want to say that I can't remember if I physically prayed for him, hands on kind of prayer. I do know my spiritual brother had done his part with that. But as far as me, I did talk about to Fred and to his wife on quite a few occasions, not in a consistency and not enough to where I would feel comfortable at this point knowing that I've done my part. But my buddy Fred and his wife, well, his wife was in the hospital. And I didn't know this at the time, but my wife had to go to OSU here in Columbus, Ohio, had to go to OSU for a doctor's appointment. And while we was there, we was getting ready to leave. Well, I ran into my buddy, one of my buddy Fred's wife's nephews, who was out there, which is actually a close friend of mine. I ain't gonna say names, but he was there at the hospital. He was outside, uh, taking a break or whatever. And I happened to walk by, and he seen me, I seen him, and we talked for a brief moment. And he told me that his Aunt Betty was in the hospital. I believe by faith, as he was talking to me, that I felt moved to go pray for her. Well, I didn't. I don't know how long the time had went by, but in a roundabout way, I would say there was a few times that it was brought to my spirit to pray for her. She had gotten out of the hospital, was at home. She still wasn't doing well. She had to have a hospital bed there and stuff. And Fred and other family members was helping take care of her. But eventually, she passed. Now, I never did my part as I knew that I felt that I was supposed to. Never did it. That has bothered me for years since then because I never did it. Well, my buddy Fred, who I felt really close to, was one of my best friends, like one of my closest best friends. Like he was really close to me, and I felt like he was more like a grandpa because he was in his 70s. Well, we still was in contact, still talking with one another, and whatnot, and seeing each other. But I remember one day I found out, I think it was from my mother, that he ended up passing. I love that man. I didn't do my part, as I know I should have. Done more, been there more spiritually for him. Whether it would have been received or not doesn't make a difference. If I claim to be his friend, I should have been trying to be more of a spiritual brother than just a friend. But that's bothering me. There's two people I know that was put in my life for one reason or another, and I failed. It's a mistake. And because I made that mistake, you would think that I would have learned from it. But no. But before that, I had another buddy. A close friend of mine, really close. It was Butch. We had known each other for quite a few years. Actually, I'd known him longer than I did Fred. And he was like more like a brother. And I don't mean a spiritual brother, but a brother. Like a big brother. Well, I had talked to him about God on a few different occasions, and it always wasn't going in the direction that I wanted it to. So I never pushed hard to try to do more with him. But he ended up moving out of state, moving to Florida, living up there with his mom, helping take care of his mom. And he had been trying for years to get me to come down there to Florida, whether it's to visit or move in. He always offered me a place to stay down there in Florida. Said, you can come live down here. It's a long story, but Florida wasn't for me. But I remember his daughter called me up one day. Said, hey, Brian, I just want to let you know Butch died. That hit me. I started bawling right away. That hit me like a ton of bricks. Because I was walking more by faith at that time when he passed. And he came up from Florida once. Actually, a couple times, but this time, it was when I was walking by faith. And I didn't take that opportunity. Never had prayed for him. Physically, hands on. Sorry, I'm just thinking about all this. Still hitting me. That was quite a few years ago. Probably close to 10 years ago. Almost 10 years. So I regret that. A mistake. Now, yesterday, let's see, what is today's date? Let's see. I think it's like 25th. Yesterday being the 24th, August 24th, 2025, I was trying to get in contact with a friend of mine who I'd lost contact with. He was manic depressive. Like, his doctor had said that he had literally the worst case of manic depression that he has ever seen in anybody he's ever encountered. How deep that goes, I don't know. But I never physically prayed for him either. Felt moved to on quite a few occasions, never acted, never took that opportunity. Because always at these times, I was listening to the lies of the enemy. I don't even want to say the enemy, but just listening to different things to deter me from it. And I never took that opportunity. Well, I had been researching for him online, Facebook, because that's where I last talked to him from, was on Facebook. And this was like 4 years ago. And he reached out to me about something. And he was asking me to do him a favor, which I'm not going to talk about. But I didn't do the favor. I would say by faith, it wasn't a spiritual favor, like a prayer or anything like that. It was, to me, a more of a worldly kind of favor. I didn't feel moved to act upon it. Well, he had kind of was pressuring me into it. I still refused, and I basically shut the door in his face. Now, I had known this man since like the early 80s. So you're talking, 40 years of knowing this man? Well, several years had gone by, and since I had last talked to him, and I was looking to try to get back in contact with him. Couldn't reach him through his number. Couldn't reach him on Facebook. I'd noticed his last posting was like in 2021. Nothing since then. And this man didn't work. It was getting a check from the government for his medical conditions. So I knew he would have time to be online. And I started thinking, because he's wanting to move out of state, and he did, from what I gathered. I looked diligently trying to find him. And then just one day, out of the blue, yesterday being the day, after all this time searching, I typed on Facebook looking for him. I seen a posting online where somebody else had posted about him. Let me pause this. Well, as I was reading one of the posts, it was a friend of his had mentioned him in a post, and this was posted like 4 years ago, or even up to a couple years ago. I read the post, and it was talking about how he had passed away. Now, he was born the same year as me, but he was like 7 months older than me. Childhood friends, years, you're talking 40 years. Now, I never once physically prayed for him. Hands-on prayer, which I believe by faith does more than just a simple prayer. But I do believe by faith I could have prayed from here to help him in a situation where he was. And I had prayed for him. But to me, I was supposed to have went and prayed for him physically before he had passed. And I never did it. He was supposed to be a good friend of mine, even though me and him had our difference at that time where I kind of cut him off for a season. He wasn't a spiritual brother, even though he did believe in God, and we had talked about God on a couple different occasions, but because he was so manic depressive that it was bad. Like, most people wouldn't even want to talk to him because he was pretty far out there. But because I had known him so long, I understood him. I never looked at it like that physical problem didn't affect me to where I didn't want to talk to him for that purpose. But nonetheless, made a mistake. And these I'm going to have to answer for. There's not a doubt in my mind. I know there's forgiveness for sins. We're not supposed to beat ourselves up, but we ain't supposed to sweep it under the rug like it never happened either. Now, those ones probably is the biggest ones that's really haunted me for a long while. The one yesterday, when I just found out yesterday that my buddy John, that is more recent. That's why I'm wanting to go into this video. Another time, this wasn't a friend, didn't even know this person. Me and my wife was coming home from seeing her dad. Lives in another city, about a 45-minute drive. Was coming home. We was on the freeway. Was getting ready to get off the freeway. A wreck had just happened. Probably not even a minute before we got to this spot. It happened so recently before that it was like traffic was still flowing. There was just only a couple cars that had just started to stop because it just happened. I told my wife as we started to go by, this car had been smashed like an accordion, or man, it was bad. Like both sides was smashed in, like to where you can literally put both your arms on both the passenger window and the driver window at the same time. That's how bad it was smashed. And it was off by itself, but the other car that it was in a wreck with had people in it as well. I told my wife to pull over because I wanted to go see if there was any kind of way I could help. Now, this was probably about 3 years ago, maybe 4, somewhere in that range. She pulled over. I got out. I ran over her. Well, the one car that wasn't as smashed up as the one I was just talking about had a lady and a man and a kid in the back seat. It looked like they was unconscious. Couldn't tell, just by simply walking up. By that time now, more cars are starting to stop, starting to get involved, and coming over and seeing how they could help or intervene in some kind of way. There's probably like 20 people there at this point. And I wasn't really talking to God per se, about each individual or whatnot. I was awestruck with what had happened. I was in shock. I mean, not because it happened to me, obviously, but because of the whole situation. So they was trying to talk to that car that I was talking about with the man, the woman, and the child in the back seat. A whole group of people, like enough that it would have been hard for me to even get over to the vehicle. Not that would have stopped me if I felt moved to, and I was going to act upon that, going over and praying for them, speaking something spiritual, over them. But I remember walking over to the other vehicle, the one that was smashed up pretty bad. I could see an arm hanging out the window and the head laying on the window itself. I looked at him, and just as I was getting ready to walk over, to see if he was all right. Somebody else had just made to him before me. I guess he checked the guy's pulse, and he said, he's gone. He said, I'm an EMT. He was off duty EMT, happened to be just going by and seen it, decided to help. He says, I'm an EMT. He said, man, that man's gone. Now, hindsight, looking back at that situation, I believe by faith that if I had went over there and acted according to what Scripture says and believed by faith, God would have done something in that situation. Could have saved that man. Now, Jesus said, these things I do, and greater than these you can do. So I believe by faith, if I would have took a step of faith, walked over this person, prayed for them earnestly, crying out to God that he'd do something or act in some way to prevent that accident from taking that person's life, it would have happened. I didn't take that step of faith. I was like, okay, he's already gone. I'm got all these things going through my head, but that never left my mind that I should have prayed. I still think about that. Not every day, not every week, not every month, but I do think about it. Now, with those mistakes that I've mentioned, several, and I'm sure there's more, but I want to say, I'm mentioning this now for your sakes, those who may be watching, and maybe you're getting some kind of moving feeling to talk to whether it's a friend, family member, co-worker, whatever. If there's something you're feeling moved to say, do, or pray for that person, do it. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. If you keep putting that off, whatever it is, I don't care. I'm telling you, you're going to live with that regret. If you have a heart set on doing God's will, I'm not saying you won't make a mistake and not act on it at times, because I've just sit here and told you several that I hadn't acted upon. So learn from my mistake. Don't make the same mistake as that. Don't be sitting here beating yourself up for years. If something is moving you to speak to a person spiritually, praying for that person spiritually, then do it. If you're feeling moved to go talk to the person in person, not just over the phone, because over the phone will do, have some kind of spiritual blessing in it. But I believe verbally in the face does more. I just want to encourage you, whoever's watching, that might have some kind of feeling about wanting to do it. You're going to regret it somewhere down in your life, whether it's down the road, whatever. You're gonna be bothered with it. You're gonna be sitting here just like I am sitting here now, and you're gonna be like, man, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I say this? Why didn't I do that? Any number of things. Don't be that person. Some of us can teach others by our mistakes. Now, I'm not saying you should go out and make a whole bunch of mistakes so you can say, hey, I made that mistake. Hey, look, man, don't do this because I've made that mistake. Oh, better me than you. But if you happen to make that mistake, somebody else that's more weaker in the faith or just more weak-minded might not be able to be standing at the end of that mistake that you have made, that they're getting ready to make, or have made, and don't know how to act or react from it. Sometimes there's people with strong individual that could help encourage, uplift somebody that has made a mistake that somebody else is getting ready to or has made that is not so strong and is weak-minded, may even take their life for it. Here's another one. I just thought of it. Another buddy named John. Everybody called him JD. I didn't speak enough spiritually to him. Now I take the weight of this one because he was wanting to leave. He was living in West Virginia. He was it's what some would call a hillbilly. And he was trying to get out from the situation he was in. I offered him come stay with me. And the circumstances I was, trying to put him under in the situation of like, hey, look, you're going to have to be this way. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. You just can't come here and do this or that and do this or do that, giving him stipulations. Well, he didn't want to take that opportunity with what I was saying to him. Who's at fault for that? I would say me. Because I've known this man for probably about 20 years or more at that time. Well, come to find out, after me not taking the steps of faith, I was trying to reach out to him, couldn't get a hold of him. And we was in contact with one another. It wasn't an everyday thing or a weekly thing or even a monthly thing, but we talked. I'd reached out to him on Facebook and through phone calls as well. And just one day, couldn't get a hold of him. I just tried. And I'd seen a posting in there on Facebook about him. Reached out to him, the person who was posted it on his page. And I was inquiring about him. Come to find out, some reason or another, he hung himself. Killed himself. Yeah. That one affected me. All these had an effect on me one way or the other. And sad thing is, that's probably not the only ones. That one just came to me. I just remembered that one. Do it. Whatever it is, don't procrastinate. Don't put it off. Don't wait any longer, because I'm telling you, there's going to be a day when you've kept putting it off and you're not going to have that opportunity again to act upon that situation. Whatever it is, pray, talk, whatever. I don't even care if it's just your presence being in front of them. Maybe the light of Christ will shine through you and get to them, and it will do what it needs to do. Just by your presence being there. Sometimes it ain't always what you could say. It's just even being there. Maybe an ear for them to speak to you. Whatever. Do it. I strongly encourage you. Do it. I'm telling you, you're going to regret it. If you have the love for the brotherhood, for those who are lost, those who are needing more spiritually done in their life, whatever the case is, I'm telling you, if you have that heart set on doing God's will and walking in truth, you will be affected by that. If you have not already made that mistake. And if you have, then you know what I'm saying right now is truth. So I definitely want to say, do it. Don't let these lies or these thoughts in your head prevent you from doing it. Because I'm telling you, they will come back to back to back. If not, you know, it's going to happen. You can talk yourself right out of it. The devil will bless someone straight to hell. In a lot of people's lives, that is the case. Don't want to live with regret, conviction. It's a heavy burden. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and stop this video now. I've not spoke on scriptures and normal like I try to, at least have some scriptures in there. Yeah, I did say something about some scripture, but not the same. It's basically just move. Something moves you, move. Do it. Quench not the spirit. So, with that said, I hope you can learn from that for your own sake. I want to wish you Godspeed, blessings from God the Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Godspeed.